Hey everybody, welcome back to Movies You Missed Podcast, episode 124. V, how are you today?
Ready to go back to school today, John.
Yeah, we're going back to high school today with both of our picks. Should be an interesting episode since I already know how you feel about my pick.
You
just couldn't hold it back.
Have no idea.
We'll get into it in just a little bit. But before we do all of that, for those of you that are brand new to Movies You Missed Podcast, welcome. We are two film industry veterans. We love to discuss movies that have fallen under the radar, movies that we feel need to be revisited, and movies that we love, because we love movies here at Movies You Missed Podcast. And one of our favorite things about Movies You Missed Podcast is we do not spoil any movies that we discuss here on this podcast. And we also very much enjoy this little bit of Movies You Missed Podcast because before we jump into the picks that we have chosen for this week, we love to discuss the movies that we went and saw in the theaters or watched at home on streaming this week. So, V, I'm curious, did you see anything new this last week?
Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to. I was a bit busy this last week. I was really planning to actually stream a couple of movies that are now on HBO Max. So hopefully by next week's episode, I'll be able to talk about them.
Sweet. I look forward to that then, as I'm sure our audience does.
I hope so. And John, did you get a chance to watch anything this week?
I did, actually. I watched a movie on streaming that I really should have seen in theaters. I saw the trailer one time. This is the Rose Glass, written and directed, also written by Weronika Tofilska, pronunciation TBD. I hope I got that right. This is the Kristen Stewart, Katie O'Brien-led Love Lies Bleeding.
Oh, I thought you'd already seen that.
No, I had not had a chance to see it. I really wanted to, so I watched it on HBO, and I had an absolute blast with this movie. It is badass. It is females kicking ass, and Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien made a great on-screen pair. Ed Harris is in this movie, as is Jenna Malone, and I'm going to tell you right now, Jenna Malone was pretty damn good.
That is one of the movies on Max that I really wanted to watch last weekend.
All right. Well, I can't wait to hear what you think about it. I'll just leave it as watch the movie to our entire audience. It is badass. Hour and 44 minutes. I think there might be 2.5 minutes where I'm like, but overall, a really, really awesome time.
Yeah, when you texted me last weekend about that movie, I just thought it was so out of place because I was like, didn't he watch this in theaters? What's he talking about?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so now that fills in a lot.
I was kind of confused too.
Right?
Because I was like, this is my first time, V, and you're literally just lackluster, like, okay.
Yeah. I was totally off on that one, so my bad.
No problem.
And yes, Katie O'Brien is great. She appeared in Twisters this year.
Yes, she did.
And we have communicated with her a couple times on Twitter, and she's really fun, up-and-coming actress to follow, and nothing but well wishes to her, and I'm really glad she did well in this movie, too.
Yeah, she was awesome. Kristen Stewart was badass. Pretty much the entire cast delivered. I can't wait for you to watch it, and we can discuss it a little bit more.
Okay, well, I'll move it to the top of my to-watch list, then.
Awesome. I think it's time to put on our backpacks one strap instead of two.
Good 21 Jump Street reference right there.
There it is. Yes, Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill. But we're not discussing that movie today. Maybe one day in the future we'll do both of them because they're both very entertaining movies. But I think it's time to jump into your pick. V, a Shakespeare retelling. Take it away.
Which also could mean a lot of different high school movies.
That's also very true.
But I chose a classic coming out in 1999. This stars Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, David Krumholtz, and Larry Miller. This is 10 Things I Hate About You.
Nice.
I've loved this movie ever since it came out, and I can't wait to talk about it, especially because it's based on The Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare.
I don't think I know anybody, actually except my wife, that does not like 10 Things I Hate About You.
I don't think I know anybody either. This is a pretty universally loved movie.
Yes, it is.
But for those of you who still have not seen it, that's okay, because I'm going to discuss it now. We are in present time, similar to Romeo and Juliet, that retelling that you chose for episode 4, just a little less stylized. We are in present day.
Yeah, there we go.
And we are actually just outside Seattle. And hats off to the production team on this movie because they picked and filmed during the few sunny days in Washington for this movie.
Seriously, I know. It's kind of amazing.
It really is. And so we open up at a high school with a new student named Cameron.
The sexiest high school that I think I've ever seen.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. It is the best high school building of all time, and it is really a high school.
Oh my God, is it seriously?
It is in Tacoma.
Wow, I did not know that. I thought my wife and I were both like, there's no way that this is an actual high school.
It really is.
That is pretty bad. My gosh. Okay, it's time to rewind the clock and grow up in Tacoma, Washington.
Right.
So we can go to this high school. My gosh.
I mean, I would happily trade in my high school experience for going to that one.
I would too, yeah.
But jumping into 10 Things I Hate About You, because, of course, we get the lay of the land pretty quickly from Cameron, who is a new student. He's actually a military brat, and we get introduced to Miss Perky.
Oh, yeah.
Played by Allison Janney, who I love. This is my all-time favorite role of hers.
Oh, wow.
And, of course, a close second is Finding Nemo from episode 73. She has my favorite line in that movie.
Today's the day!
And she's a pretty twisted guidance counselor because not only is she telling it like it is and cusses in front of her students, but she's also really focused, and even more focused than her students, on writing a romance novel.
Yeah.
Which is great. So she gets Cameron out of her office pretty quickly, and he then is introduced to Michael, played by David Krumholtz.
Yes.
To get the lay of the land of the high school. And I love this rundown of all the different cliques within this school.
Oh, yeah.
You have your future MBAs, the guys who are Rastafarians who think they're black,
Yeah.
the cowboys, and the closest they've ever gotten to a cow is McDonald's. And during this rundown, Cameron is also introduced to Bianca, who he thinks is completely gorgeous and instantly has stolen his heart, even though she's the type of girl I would never have been friends with in high school.
Yeah, I don't think so. Same.
Because she's one of those superficial, popular girls.
Mm-hmm.
And so Cameron's mission in high school life is to date Bianca. He instantly has fallen in love with her and really wants to take her out. But unfortunately, you have to stay away from Bianca Stratford because there is a no dating rule in her household.
Yeah.
And we in the audience are informed of that once Bianca goes home that day and speaks with not only her father, but also her sister Kat, who is much less popular in high school than Bianca is. Kat's a senior, Bianca is a sophomore, and Kat was my personal hero when I was in high school when this movie came out because she doesn't give a shit about anybody's opinion, and she was just doing her own thing in high school. She wanted to start a band. I was all about it. She was awesome to me.
Yeah, Kat is pretty cool.
And after we learn the house rules...
Ask Bianca who drove her home.
Kat, don't change the drove. Who drove you home?
Now, don't get upset, Daddy, but there's this boy.
Who's a flaming imbecile.
Please.
And I think he might ask me...
Please, I think I know what he's going to ask you. And I think I know the answer. No. It's always no. What are the 2 house rules? Number 1, no dating till you graduate. Number 2, no dating till you graduate. That's it.
Daddy, that's so unfair. I am the only girl in school who's not dating.
Oh, no, you're not. Your sister doesn't date.
And I don't intend to.
And why is that again?
Have you seen the unwashed miscreants that go to that school?
Where did you come from? Planet Loser?
As opposed to planet, look at me, look at me.
Okay, here's how we solve this one. Old rule out. New rule. Bianca can date. When she does.
But she's a mutant. What if she never dates?
Then you'll never date. Oh, I like that.
I absolutely love Larry Miller in this movie.
Oh, yeah, he's fantastic.
All of my audio clips are his dialogue
sweet.
this week.
I want you to wear the belly.
Daddy, no! Because the reason Mr. Stratford is this paranoid is not only he a single father, but also because he's an obstetrician. And so he's always encountering pregnancy, especially teen pregnancy, and so he's just beyond paranoid for his 2 daughters.
I think one of my favorite lines is the whole, I delivered a 16-year-old pregnancy today. Do you know what she said? I should have listened to my father.
She did
not.
not.
No, she did not. And he goes, well, she would have if she wasn't so doped up. He's so great.
So good. And now this new rule is in effect. And lo and behold, when Cameron finally gets the courage to talk to Bianca by impersonating a French tutor for her,
Yeah.
she lets him know that there's a new rule in her household, that in fact she can date when her sister can. And this starts an intertwined comedic series of events that only William Shakespeare could have written.
Definitely.
They're so good. Cameron and Michael decide to find someone to date Kat, but Kat has this reputation in high school, and all of the boys are completely terrified of her, and nobody wants to. But there is this one dangerous guy in school named Patrick Verona. Verona, classic city name for William Shakespeare, of course.
In fair Verona.
Patrick is just as dangerous, or at least he has a reputation of danger, to the same level that Kat does.
Very much so.
And so Cameron and Michael approach him and ask him to go and date Kat. And he's like, well, what's in it for me? No way. I don't care to do that. And so, of course, Cameron and Michael need a backer. And that's where they find the slick douchebag of the school.
Oh, boy. The male model.
Who thinks of himself as a model. Named Joey, who also wants to date Bianca for the wrong reasons. And so Cameron and Michael convince Joey, hey, you know what? This guy, Patrick Verona, played by Heath Ledger, by the way, is willing to date Kat. You should hire him, and then you can date Bianca.
Right.
So there's a bit of a shell game going on here, and of course Joey very easily gets convinced and decides to hire Patrick to go and date Kat. And so what unfolds is, of course, a lot of secrets and lies, a lot of romance, a bit of subterfuge, and it turns into a wonderful teen rom-com that's still great and hilarious to this day. The jokes all hold up. The performances are great. And it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And yes, Joey is such an idiot. He's that slick kid in high school that you knew was peaking in high school. And one of the conversations I love, because Bianca thinks he's so cool and he's got a Camaro and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Careful on the leather.
So she thinks he's hot stuff too. And one of their conversations is Joey showing her two different headshots that, of course, look exactly the same. And he's like, which one do you think's better? And she goes, oh, well, this one, I think. And he's like, yeah, I think so too. And she goes, you look more pensive. And he goes, damn, I was going for thoughtful. And it's such a subtle joke in this movie, but I've always absolutely loved it.
It's so ridiculous.
Shows how stupid this guy is.
And I love at the party when he's showing her two different poses, and he's like, you see the difference? And she's like, just rolling her eyes like, no, she's starting to realize.
Yes.
This guy's a tool bag.
That's a perfect description.
He is dumber than a bag of hammers.
He is the ultimate tool. You are right. and as things continue to move along, and Kat is actually starting to open up and starting to go out, and first Bianca gets invited to a party.
Should have used the window.
Hi, Daddy.
Hi. Where are we going?
Well, if you must know, a small study group of friends.
Otherwise known as an orgy.
Mr. Stratford, it's just a party.
And hell is just a sauna.
And then as things continue to move along, she gets invited to prom.
If your sister's not going, you're not going. End of story.
Okay, let's review. Kat, not interested. Me, dying to go.
Do you know what happens at proms?
Yes, Daddy, we'll dance, we'll kiss, we'll come home. It's not quite the crisis situation you imagine.
Kissing, huh? That's what you think happens? Got news for you. Kissing isn't what keeps me up to my elbows in placenta all day long.
Can we for 2 seconds ignore the fact that you're severely unhinged and discuss my need for a night of teenage normalcy?
What's normal? Those damn Dawson's River kids sleeping in each other's beds and whatnot?
Daddy, that is so not...
Got news for you. I'm down. I've got the 411, and you are not going out and getting jiggy with some boy. I don't care how dope his ride is.
And there are some fantastically memorable scenes in this movie, and very quotable as well. There's this one guy named Bogey Lowenstein, who's Michael's arch enemy because he's a future MBAer and kicked Michael out of their group, and so Michael's really bitter and decides to make posters saying that Bogey Lowenstein is actually having a party. And one of the things, because he's just hosting a wine and cheese event and he's super uptight. And there's a knock on the door. He goes, that must be Nigel with the brie.
Yeah.
And I still use that line to this day.
That whole sequence is great.
So I could talk about this movie on and on and on, but I need to push pause because I have to ask John what he thought of his most recent viewing of 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh, yes. I can't remember when I watched this movie last. It's been a handful of years. I watched this movie more in high school than I did when it first came out. I didn't really have a whole lot of interest in it when I was in junior high, but then when I got into high school, I was trying to watch a lot of high school movies, and this was one that I gravitated towards. And I really enjoyed it from the first viewing. I thought it was great. I've always liked Joseph Gordon-Levitt, seen him grow up on camera. I, at this point, had not heard of Heath Ledger, so this was the first Heath Ledger movie that I had seen.
Probably because this is his first ever American movie.
Oh, well, there you go. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Which, he's great in this movie. Everybody really does deliver. I watching it this time around, I still think David Krumholtz is one of the funniest people in this movie, including Kat's and Joey's teacher, who does a bunch of rhyming and rapping and stuff like that, and then just gets so pissed off at Kat every now and then, or Joey would throw a couple insults Kat's way, and their teacher would just be like, "Man, unless she didn't beat the shit out of you or something, I don't want to hear about it," or something like that. Like, she didn't kick your stupid ass around. And it's funny because I've never had a teacher talk like that. And of course, this is a movie, so it's all good and well. But I remember the first time I watched it, the whole thing with Allison Janney, where she flips off the window after somebody throws some garbage at the window, is hilarious. And watching it this time, I watched it in 4K on Disney Plus, and you could tell that they definitely ADR'd over what she actually said, and her mouth becomes replaced for just a split second on the 4K release of this movie.
She must have said the F word in the original take.
Yeah, I think so.
Same little asswipe shit for brains at every high school.
Yeah.
That's what's ADR'd over it.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Oh, God.
And then later on, of course, Heath Ledger's character comes in, and they have a pretty entertaining back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, overall, very entertaining movie. The soundtrack is great. And again, David Krumholtz cracks me up. When he and Cameron are getting ready to go to that party that they've completely just put on this, this uptight guy so that he could take Bianca out, he says something about, "You haven't had fun until you've been to a Chuck E. Cheese party," or something like that. And that I must not have remembered that line, because that one had my face red. I was just like, my gosh, he's so...
The last party I was invited to was at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, and he goes, "And you haven't been to a party unless you've been to Chuck E. Cheese," and he's just brushing his hair, and he's like... and David Krumholtz, hilariously, this time around, reminds me of a guy that I used to hang out with that is exactly like that character. Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, this is totally that guy. I didn't hang out with that guy until after I graduated high school, but we worked together at Best Buy and stuff like that. He was just very much a little cringe, a little bit, kind of like, "Oh, buddy, just relax. You're trying a little bit too hard." Yeah. And Larry Miller, absolutely gold in this movie. I love when Kat rams into Joey's car, and the next cut is him looking down at Kat, and he's like, "Whoops! My insurance does not cover PMS." I just think it's so funny. And of course, what he puts Bianca through, because she's the youngest, is entertaining and also a little bit demeaning, but it's pretty funny at the same time. And interestingly, Gabrielle Union's in this movie, so there's a lot of faces that pop up in this movie. But yeah, overall, very entertaining. I don't own it, and I don't know why I don't own it. It's been one of those movies that I've, similar to Mystic River, how we mentioned last week, I've always had it in my hand and been like, should I buy this? Should I not buy this? And then I buy something else, but I think I'm going to have to just add it to my collection at some point, because it's a good movie. It never wavers. It never goes a direction that it shouldn't. It literally is completely straightforward. It's unapologetic, and it's funny from the get-go until the end of the movie. And I love that about it. That's one thing I love about the movie, out of the other 9. 10 things I love about this movie.
Oh, I should have made that list. Shit.
I should have too, now thinking about it. Well, I can do it right now. David Krumholtz, definitely love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Larry Miller.
The High School.
Heath Ledger. High School.
The soundtrack.
The comedy.
The shit hath hitteth the fan.
Yeah. That's a great moment, too. So that's 9.
Bloopers during the end credits, which need to be brought back.
Yes. Those were great. I actually almost texted you and be like, I don't know if I've ever... I must not have, or maybe I just completely forgot that there was a blooper reel at the end, because the blooper reel is pretty great.
It's fantastic, and again, they need to be brought back.
They really do.
So that is 10 Things I Hate About You. Clearly, both of us love it and have more than 10 reasons to as well.
Yeah.
Including the cast, who are all great. Heath Ledger, as we've talked about, plays Patrick Verona, the guy who's hired to date Kat.
Yeah.
He's been in several other picks of ours.
Yes, he has.
Of course, he stars in A Knight's Tale, your pick for episode 12.
Oh, yeah.
The Brothers Grimm, your pick for episode 30.
Yeah.
And The Lords of Dogtown, your pick for episode 121.
I'm a big Heath Ledger fan.
You are, and this is my first ever pick of his.
Yeah.
He was also in The Patriot, The Four Feathers, Ned Kelly, Brokeback Mountain, and of course The Dark Knight.
Of course. I never did see Ned Kelly. That's him and Orlando Bloom, but I've always wanted to see that one.
It always seemed similar to Lawless in my mind. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Brothers, outlaws, I guess.
Yeah.
Julia Stiles plays Kat, the prickly older sister.
Prickly, that's a good way to put it.
Well, let's have Miss Perky put it a different way.
People perceive you as somewhat
Tempestuous?
heinous bitch is the term used most often.
She stars in Down to You, Save the Last Dance, which, by the way, her table dance scene in this movie got her the role of Save the Last Dance.
Did it really?
It did.
Oh, wow. I've seen Save the Last Dance one time. I think I was trying to impress a girl in high school. There was really no other reason for me to watch that movie.
No, it's bad.
Yeah.
She's in the Bourne Identity movies.
Yeah, she is.
Mona Lisa Smile, The Silver Linings Playbook, and 2 other Shakespeare adaptations.
That's right. She was in O.
With Josh Hartnett, and also in the 2000 version of Hamlet with Ethan Hawke.
Oh, wow. I forgot about the Ethan Hawke Hamlet.
Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, we talked about him a bunch on the show. We love him. He plays Cameron, who's in love with Bianca. And he was in my pick of Looper in episode 54.
Yes.
And my pick of Treasure Planet in episode 92.
That's right.
He's been acting since he was a kid. He has also appeared in Angels in the Outfield, 500 Days of Summer, Inception, The Dark Knight Rises, funny enough.
Ah, yes.
And an underrated movie called Premium Rush.
Oh, yeah, Premium Rush, where he's the biker, the courier.
Yeah, Michael Shannon's in that movie.
That was a pretty cool flick.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. I saw it at home, and I enjoyed it.
Good. David Krumholtz plays Michael, his friend, and he, of course, is Wednesday's love interest in the Addams Family Values, my pick for episode 31, when he's a little kid. It's so cute.
That's right.
He also plays Mr. Universe in the movie Serenity, which I love, and I know several of our listeners love as well, including Monty.
I have not seen that one yet. One day I'm sure I'll see it.
Well, you have to watch Firefly, the series, first, and then you can watch Serenity.
That's probably why I haven't watched Serenity yet. I don't
exactly.
Nothing against Firefly. I've seen a few episodes, but it's a lot.
But of course, David Krumholtz is Bernard in the Santa Claus series.
Yeah.
And Larry Miller playing their father, of course, is the salesman in Pretty Woman.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh. I don't remember that at all. I've only seen Pretty Woman one time.
After Julia Roberts has a pretty bad experience at a store, Richard Gere brings her to another store, and Larry Miller is the salesman who Richard Gere tells him they're going to spend an obscene amount of money in this store, and he gets really excited. He also appears in most Christopher Guest films. He's in Best in Show, Mighty Wind. He also does Anne Hathaway's makeover in The Princess Diaries.
Yeah, he does. That's
His
right.
accent is so awesome in that film. Oh, God, I love him in that movie. This movie is actually written by 2 women.
Oh, very cool.
I guess adapted is the better way to put it, since it is from William Shakespeare. Kristen Smith and Karen McCullough adapted this movie. They also wrote, now brace yourself, because we are big fans of these women.
Are we?
Yes, Kristen Smith and Karen McCullough also wrote She's the Man.
Oh, all right.
The House Bunny with Anna Faris. The Ugly Truth.
All right. Great How Did This Get Made episode.
Yeah, yes. Ella Enchanted and Legally Blonde.
Hey, all right.
Yeah. So
that's a very good track record.
It is. So Kristen Smith and Karen McCullough, we are big fans of yours. And Karen actually said that the title of this movie came from a diary entry she made in high school.
Really?
Which is very fitting.
Yeah.
And Heath Ledger actually beat out Josh Hartnett and Ashton Kutcher for this role.
Oh, thank God.
Yes.
Nothing against either of them, honestly, but Heath Ledger was the right one for this.
He really was. I could kind of see Josh Hartnett because he can play dark and broody. Ashton Kutcher, especially in 99, would have been a horrible choice.
Yeah, I was not an Ashton Kutcher fan until I saw Butterfly Effect, and then I was like, all right, I'll give this guy a little bit more of my time. But I've always liked Josh Hartnett. I've never been like, nah. I mean, I love him in The Faculty, hate him in Pearl Harbor, but I hate that movie.
Right.
But Wicker Park is one of my future picks, and I loved Wicker Park.
I love Josh Hartnett, and I'm so glad he's back to acting, especially with the more recent Oppenheimer. I wasn't a fan of Ashton Kutcher much when I was growing up. I thought he was kind of dumb with his Punk'd show.
Oh, I loved Punk'd.
And just really obnoxious. And then I started liking him as he grew into an adult, and now I've completely lost all respect for him because he and Mila Kunis wrote a support letter for Danny Masterson last year, which was really fucking terrible.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
That was disappointing.
Considering what Ashton Kutcher has done with his free time.
That's the thing. Ashton Kutcher had set up a non-profit charity to help sex trafficking victims, and then he turns around as like the biggest hypocrite on earth. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, that was very weird. I remember
shitty.
when that happened. It's like, whoa, buddy.
Yeah, it was really disappointing. But back to 10 Things I Hate About You, because Heath Ledger did in fact win the role of Patrick. He actually drew on Richard Burton's portrayal in The Taming of the Shrew from 1967, as well as giving Patrick a Jack Nicholson edge to him with his cheekiness and his smiles.
Huh.
Which is kind of funny considering he then went on to play the Joker.
Right. Yeah.
And Heath Ledger improvised the moment where he starts playing with the Bunsen burner in science class.
Oh, really?
Which was perfect
with
for
the
his
cigarette
character.
and everything?
Yeah. With his friend who looks to be 47.
Oh, totally. Yeah. The one like punk guy totally looks like he is way out of high school.
He's not a high school student.
Not at all.
And it was Julia Stiles who actually suggested Heath Ledger sing "You're Just Too Good to Be True" in
Really?
the iconic football field scene.
Oh, yeah. That is a great moment in the movie.
It really is, and a good song.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't know.
I mean, it's a good song for the scene, is what I mean.
Yeah, good song for the scene. I think I've just heard it so many times in life. Kind of like Sweet Caroline, where I'm like,
Oh, I hate
I'm
that song.
done.
Yeah, same. Okay,
I'm
fair.
done.
Totally agree.
Every fucking karaoke bar I go to, shut the fuck up.
Yes.
No.
I agree, actually. And,
Well, that's one thing we'll agree on this episode.
well, two, because you love
Actually-
10 Things I Hate About You as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, so that's 11 things that we'll agree on right now.
And the student that Patrick pays off in the hallway to have the marching band help him with this song that he sings is actually the leader of Lincoln High School marching band in Tacoma, Washington, and they're the band who recorded the background music for Heath Ledger's song.
That's awesome. And they were the ones on the football field, too?
Yeah.
Very cool. Wow. Damn. What a badass high school. Football field like that? You got to be fucking kidding me. My football field and my high school literally look like the prison yard from The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler. And people were like, oh, there's a football game tonight on campus. Like, who gives a shit?
But my football field in high school was out the county fairgrounds where we had the rodeo for our county fair.
Damn. See, that's a little bit better than mine. Because our rival in football, not that I even really gave a shit, was the high school just around the corner up a hill, and they had like a badass stadium. And I was like, where did our fucking money go? Like, how come we don't... Yeah, my high school was interesting.
My high school was tiny.
I know, I think we've talked about this before. My graduating class was 1,500.
That's more than my town.
Yeah, the senior picture is so massive. Like, you roll it out like a red carpet, basically. And me and my buddies, they used the one where we made faces. I think it's in the yearbook, but I haven't looked at it in so long. I don't even know where my yearbooks are.
My graduating high school class at a public high school was 28.
Holy snap. 28? Yeah. Wow, that is super small.
It really is. I grew up in the middle of nowhere.
What a one-horse town.
We all had horses because it was farmland. What are you talking about?
Wow, what a 1,400-horse town.
Oh, God. Well, back to 10 Things I Hate About You, which had a much cooler high school.
Yeah, gosh.
It's like the Hogwarts of American public schools.
Kind of. Yeah, it is literally like, I can only imagine the history of that place.
Well, it was first built as a grand chateau-style railroad station hotel.
Wow.
After it suffered major fire damage, it was renovated into a high school.
That's so nuts.
Yep.
Damn.
And the Stratford House that they shot at is still standing in Tacoma, Washington. You can visit it.
Oh, cool.
I mean, you can drive by it. Don't disturb the people occupying
Yeah, don't
the
disturb
house.
the occupants. But that's pretty cool because they had that's a huge lawn in front of that house.
Yeah, they had a really nice corner lot. I'm not usually a fan of corner lots, but that was a nice place.
Yeah.
And the entire film was shot using real locations. No sets were used at all.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And Cameron pretends to be a French tutor in order to ingratiate himself with Bianca.
Yeah.
But in real
Good idea.
In real life, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is fluent in French.
Is he really?
So he had to pretend to be bad at it for this movie.
Hey, why not? He was good at it.
He was really
Convinced
good.
me.
Yeah, because he's a good actor.
Yeah.
And the song lyric Cruel to Be Kind, sung by Letters to Cleo in this soundtrack,
Oh, yeah.
is actually a reference to the play Hamlet by William Shakespeare.
Is it really?
It is.
Oh, interesting.
Which is a perfect segue to your movie, because that is 10 Things I Hate About You that came out in 1999. Its budget was $30 million.
Whoa!
Yeah.
25 million went to the high school, probably.
Probably. In the U.S., it only made $38 million.
Wow, that's surprising.
And worldwide, its total gross was $54 million.
Oh, damn.
But the soundtrack and the DVD sales were fantastic for this movie, so it's okay. It actually ended up being very popular and becoming, I don't want to say cult classic because it's just a classic.
In a weird way, though, I feel like it does kind of hold a little bit of cult status. But again, it's tough to really call it cult classic because, yeah, like we've said before, we don't know anybody that does not like this movie.
Yeah, it's so mainstream, right?
Except my wife.
Yeah. And if you want to watch it, you can stream it for free on Hulu.
And I watched it on Disney Plus.
Same thing.
It was on Disney Plus before Hulu and them combined, though. It's been on Disney Plus since Disney Plus released, and it was one of the first 4K transfers that was put on Disney Plus.
Because Disney owns Touchstone Pictures.
Exactly. Similar to Armageddon, but that's not on 4K on Disney Plus. It's on Disney Plus, but it's not 4K.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know.
All right, well, that wraps up 10 Things That I Hate About You. John, are we ready for Act 2 of this episode?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, I will take it away and talk about a movie that I have been a fan of since I saw it. I think I saw it for the first time in 2008. I did not see this movie in theaters, unfortunately. I would have really liked to. But the way that I saw this movie is actually a pretty cool story. Our mutual friend, Vee, Carly McGuire, from Camp, Del Corazon from back in the day, she was a nanny to a unit production manager and a producer of movies and television. He produced movies like Extract from Mike Judge with Jason Bateman and Ben Affleck. He also was the unit production manager on my pick of this week called Hamlet 2. Yay!
A movie I'd never even heard of.
I know, it's so funny. When I texted you, I was like, oh, I think I got my high school movie. It's going to be Hamlet 2. And you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's a very funny movie starring Steve Coogan, Elizabeth Shue, Catherine Keener, David Arquette, and a whole handful of other people, Amy Poehler included. A lot of recognizable people.
Yeah, Skylar Astin's in it, and he plays Anna Kendrick's love interest in the Pitch Perfect movies.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea. This was actually his first film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was a stage actor before he jumped into making movies. And now he's on a TV show now that Amy watches, and I've caught a couple episodes of, called So Help Me Todd, starring Marcia Gay Harden.
Whoa, I had no idea.
Yeah, the episodes I've seen are cool, but I really like him in this movie. He makes me laugh quite a bit when I watch this flick. And again, like I said, Carly was nannying for the unit production manager of this movie, and I had gone over to his house, which, was a beautiful, awesome estate in the Hollywood Hills. And Carly had a room in the house because she was a live-in nanny. And we watched this movie one night, and both her and I very much enjoyed it. I moved on and showed my father, who also enjoyed it. And I've showed a lot of people this movie that have all enjoyed it. So we're going to see who's wrong today. But Amy, my wife, does not like this movie. So it's all good. But we'll get into that in just a little bit. A little bit about the movie Hamlet 2. Hamlet 2 is centered on a failed actor turned drama teacher in Tucson, Arizona. His name is Dana Marsh. And it is a very interesting... there we go. Knew you were going to laugh at something.
Oh, I just liked how you pronounced it because it's mispronounced throughout the whole movie. That's a running gag.
The running joke, yeah. Marshka. Yeah. He is, again, a failed actor and a drama teacher at this high school in Tucson. He has this idea in his mind that the only plays that he's going to put on at this high school are his versions of Oscar-winning movies. And the movie opens up with Rand, played by Skylar Astin, and Epiphany, played by Phoebe Stroll. They are both acting out a scene from Erin Brockovich. And, now, horribly also, because... these kids are not talented at all. And that's one thing I kind of like about this movie is because they are talented, but they're definitely playing not talented. I thought it worked out very well. Oddly enough, both Skylar and Phoebe had just finished doing a Broadway run of Spring Awakening right before they shot this movie together.
Oh, wow. So they'd worked together before.
They had, yes. So anyway, Dana Marsh puts on these plays for the masses, or, the 14 people that decide to show up and, support the arts of Tucson, Arizona. And Dana Marsh, always is getting just reamed in the reviews of, this high school newspaper. And even these two actors, Rand and Phoebe, are very upset about this, but they feel like they're putting their whole heart and soul into this thing. So fast forward to the following year of school, and in Dana Marsh's class, it's always been Rand and Epiphany. There's been nobody else in class. But now, all of a sudden, both Rand and Epiphany, and even Dana, are now the minority of this class, because the class is now full of Latino high schoolers. We end up finding out, due to budget cuts, this school has just completely deleted all of the elective classes except for drama. But unfortunately, Dana Marsh's is taken outside of class and told by the principal of this school that this will be the final semester of drama at this high school. So what does Dana Marsh do? He decides that he's going to figure out a way to save drama. One of my favorite scenes in this movie is when Dana Marsh finally kind of confronts Noah Saperstein, who is the drama critic of the high school. And just listen to this.
I don't know what to do. Everything is out of control.
You want to save drama, but you've produced nothing worth saving.
It's like my father got reincarnated into the body of a freaking little drama critic.
Look, all I'm saying is you need to inspire everyone to come to your rescue.
I was thinking of working on a musical version of The Lake House. The wonderful Sandra Bullock, Keanu Reeves. Play with space and time.
No.
Now, I've seen The Lake House. I've seen it once. I didn't hate the movie, but a musical rendition of it probably would not be a very good idea. So Dana Marsh decides to write his own work, and after a long, hard writing process, like a lot of us know how writing goes, he has come up with a sequel to William Shakespeare's Hamlet. We then are introduced to his wife, Bree, played by Catherine Keener, who is a complete and total bitch, like completely no support system whatsoever for Dana Marsh. This is from Bree. They now have a roommate played by David Arquette. They needed help with rent because apparently Dana has not been getting paid for this job. He roller skates to work because he gets gas money, and that's how he's able to keep his life afloat with his wife. We also find out that Dana used to be a raging alcoholic, and he is 7 years sober. So as things are really starting to kind of come crashing down while he's trying to write this play, he starts to inspire these kids because of the fact that he's really not giving up. He does want to save drama, and he's getting inside the heads of these kids as, they are actually talented kids. They can be something other than living in Tucson. They can go off and, have careers in the arts, either on stage or in movies or anything like that. We also meet Elizabeth Shue, who plays herself in this movie. Dana and his wife are trying to have a baby, but for whatever reason, it's just not working out. And we meet Elizabeth Shue at the sperm doctor. And Dana Marsh is very excited about this because he loves Elizabeth Shue as an actress. He kind of gushes at her a little bit about how wonderful she was in Leaving Las Vegas and all these other movies that she's been in the 90s. Elizabeth Shue kind of comes in to help Dana motivate his students that have not yet really grasped onto the fact that this play that he's going to put on is going to hopefully save drama. The town of Tucson starts to catch wind of this play, Hamlet 2, that is actually a very offensive, very dirty type of play that very likely should not be put on at a high school. And at one point, he gets shut down on the high school grounds and is told basically to cease and desist. And for the rest of the movie, us fans of Hamlet 2 are treated to a lot of hilarious moments. And during the process of getting this play off the ground, they start writing some interesting songs for it. There's the musical interlude Rock Me Sexy Jesus, which is a pretty fucking hilarious moment in this movie. And overall, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I enjoy it. I think that Steve Coogan's pretty great in this movie. I think everybody actually delivers a pretty good performance. So I'm ready now. I'm putting on a bulletproof vest, and I'm ready to have Vee completely destroy Hamlet 2, because Vee, why don't you just get it over with?
Okay. I cannot articulate how much I hate this movie.
Oh, that's so sad.
It is breathtakingly bad.
Breathtakingly bad. Wow. That's a new one.
I did not laugh once. At the 40-minute mark, I was angry that there was an hour left in this movie.
So does this take Monkey Bone's spot for worst movie that I've picked, in your opinion?
Yes, because I didn't get this upset watching Monkey Bone.
Wow.
It is so cringe. I didn't laugh once. The jokes are not funny. This movie's racist and homophobic. The tropes are never disputed by any piece of the storyline, so they're just tropes. And it's so absurd. I mean, even the ACLU lawyer, played by Amy Poehler, is so off the wall, unrealistic, and her behavior is so silly. You're like, who the fuck is, like, what is happening? Because this movie is trying to be taking place in real life, but nobody acts like a real life person.
Interesting.
The character of Dana is completely irredeemable. He is a failure, selfish, a total piece of shit. I'm not surprised his wife hates him. He's not a good person. He doesn't care about anyone but himself. He has to star in his own play as Jesus.
Yeah.
And there is no redemption for him. He doesn't learn anything. He's just a bad person. And the whole entire movie, you're wondering why anybody is continuing to support this man.
Interesting.
The caricatures of this movie, because they're not characters, they're complete farces and one-dimensional, but they're not quirky enough or endearing enough like a Christopher Guest caricature to be any good. This movie is offensive, but not clever enough to be Mel Brooks, so it's just offensive and not funny. There's a song in this musical called Raped in the Face.
Yes. Yes, there is.
What the hell am I supposed to do with that? Why would anyone think this is a good movie?
Well, because people... we all have sense of humors, obviously. Just because you didn't like it doesn't mean others don't. I actually did go down a rabbit hole and read reviews of this movie, which I never do, because I was very curious after what you had said to me a couple of days ago before we recorded this. I was like, interesting. I wonder what other people think about it. Only because, again, I've shown it to other people. Carly and I really liked it. My dad thought it was funny, which blew me away, because I was like,
I thought my dad would have wanted... Possible.
I thought my dad would have wanted to shut it off after about 10 minutes, but he was along for the ride. He thought it was pretty hilarious. And it seems that there's a majority of people out there that have really enjoyed the movie. They've found it to be very entertaining. The songs were pretty catchy and clever. Obviously, there's a couple of very popular songs in here sung by the Tucson Gay Men's Choir. And go for it. Say it. What were you going to say?
Well, I'm just going to stop you right there because I looked on IMDb after watching this movie too, because I wanted to see if how anyone ever liked this movie and how it had a rating of like 6.3. It's not a majority of people. Half the reviews are 1s and 2s because I read it in 2. So it's not a majority.
Yeah, the reviews, there's several 7s, there's several 10s, couple of 8s, couple of 4s, and
there's
a
bunch under 5.
There's a few, but there's you could count them on your fingers how many of those there are. But again, that's the beauty of the podcast, and that's the beauty of film, right? It's not going to be for everybody. I thought you would have found some of it funny, but it is what it is. It's not. I'm not upset or anything. I'm still going to like the movie.
No, I'm upset.
But I know you are. But again,
going back to boggled. That you enjoy this film to a point where I'm questioning things now.
No, please. It's not that bad.
It is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and I like Men in Black 2 better than this movie.
Oh boy, that's interesting. I see. When we were discussing it the other day, and I brought up the whole trope thing about this is a farce on the white savior teacher type of a movie, like Dangerous Minds and stuff like that.
It's not clever enough to be a farce.
In your opinion,
what jokes in this movie are actually clever and not in your face, grotesque and offensive?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
There's, the whole thing's not necessarily grotesque. Now granted, yes, he does say raped in the face. He's definitely pissed off about, a couple of things. I obviously agree with you. Yes, Dana Marsh is a very selfish guy. He also, I feel, is not as selfish because he does want to inspire these students. There's the moment where he talks about where he stayed up late one night watching Mr. Holland's Opus, inspirational teacher movies, and that's what he does. He wants to inspire, and I love that moment too because none of these kids are listening, and he calls them fucking bastards, and that's what gets their attention. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to freak you out. And he goes, no, wait, I hope I am freaking you out. Like, I have been in a room with a teacher that does not know how to connect with their students, right? I'm sure you have too in the past. Maybe not. I don't know,
No,
but
I
I have. And oddly enough, the one teacher out of a few, a small handful, were drama teachers. They didn't know how to get through to their audience or their students, right? And Dana is definitely trying to do that.
In an illegal, lawsuit-heavy way, because this man would have been fired and then sued by all the parents because this was 2008.
Well, if you think about it, a lot of the parents don't want their kids involved in this play. But what happens? The kids want to be involved in the play. It's not like Dana is holding a gun to any of these kids' heads to say, you need to be in this play.
No,
he never
of course
does
not.
anything like that.
But he only wants them to be in this play so he can write and perform his magnum opus so he can get the hell out of town, not because he gives a shit about any of them.
No, see, I think that's what you're not getting, honestly, because he is trying to save drama for this high school. That's literally what he's trying to do. He's trying to raise $3,000 so that he can save the drama program in this school because all of the other electives have just been cut. And obviously, of course, he wants to keep his job. Now, if you were a teacher and you were told that your elective or whatever was going to be cut, would you just run away with your tail between your legs? I don't think you would. I don't think anybody necessarily would. And that's why I think the movie works, because he truly does not give up. Now, granted, yes, he's selfish. It can be offensive at times. But a lot of this stuff that can also be offensive kind of works because everybody seems to really be into this thing after they realize that this is going to be something that nobody's ever seen before. You know,
yes,
it's like
a derivative
it's making...
sequel to Hamlet that includes a time machine.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And the play, I think, is hysterical. And it's very fascinating, and I think the Gay Men's Choir singing Maniac while they're doing a lot of the preparation in the gym, very entertaining in the way that they use some of the other songs throughout the play, especially Elton John's Someone Save My Life Tonight. I think it's great. I just think it all works, and I cheer Dana on. Only after the moment where Yolanda finally gets it through to him.
You come in here and tell us all to be artistic and put on your crazy ass play, and when things get a little rough, you act like a fucking pussy.
Yolanda, you don't say much, but when you do, it sure packs a wallop.
Now, again, you are free to feel how you feel about this movie. I am a big fan of the movie. I have always liked Steve Coogan. Steve Coogan cracks me the fuck up. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his stuff where he's Alan Partridge. Some of the funniest British humor that I've seen in a very long time. He's in Hot Fuzz, which is coming up next week. The guy's been nominated for 2 Oscars.
Yeah, which is shocking that he would be in this movie. Same with Elizabeth Shue. I mean, Elizabeth Shue playing herself isn't even believable or likable. That's how bad this movie is.
I completely disagree. I love the fact how she literally shits on the entertainment industry.
That was
because
great.
I mean, you know, when he's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say those words. She goes, oh, I've heard the word shit before. In Hollywood, you pretty much have to swim in it. Like, yeah. I thought that was great. And I love when one of the girls asked, like, what her favorite thing or what she misses the most about acting. She goes, oh, I miss kissing all those handsome actors. I really loved having make-out sessions with all those really cute actors. I thought that was pretty funny. And Melanie Diaz is in this. She was just in Lords of Dogtown a couple episodes back. She plays one of the students. And the guy that plays Octavia, or Hey Would You Blow Me, is also a pretty entertaining actor as well. His name is J.J. Soria, and he's been in a couple of different things. He was in The Purge election year. He was also in The Flight Attendant most recently with Kaylee Kuko. So again, you know, I'm not hurt or anything like that about, you know, this movie and your dislike for it. I think it's interesting.
Loathing.
That
it's not dislike.
Yeah, okay.
It's straight up hate this movie.
It's dislike. Okay, fine. Your loathing of this movie. Andrew Fleming and Pam Brady wrote this movie. They both had just come off of doing Team America World Police. They both wrote for South Park for a very long time.
See, that's offensive and funny because it's playing off tropes in the right way. This movie is not.
I disagree that this one's not. I completely disagree. But hey, again, every opinion's valid.
Making homophobic and racist jokes from straight white men is not the way to play off tropes.
I think it's funny. I am one of those people that I really do not get offended easily, especially in the world of comedy.
You've known me since I was 12. I don't get offended either, which is why
you clearly do, though. With this movie, you seem to be very, very offended.
I'm offended by how awful it is that you made me watch it.
Oh, boy. Well, again, hey, you know what? Like I said, all good, not the end of the world. I still like it. I know, I'll be honest with you, my dad has not seen it except for the first time we watched it, so who knows what he would think about it now. So let's get into a little bit of the behind the scenes of this movie, which I really could not find a whole lot. I did watch both of the makings of on the DVD. Most interestingly was the fact that Tucson, Arizona obviously they read the script for this movie. And I'm sure you remember that they do nothing but shit on the city of Tucson. So Tucson refused to let them shoot in Tucson. So they ended up having to shoot in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And, it actually kind of looks like Tucson. I've never been to Tucson, but I can only imagine how similar they are because even Tempe and Phoenix are very much like Albuquerque.
I haven't been to Tucson before, but I was recently in Albuquerque.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And like I mentioned, this was Skylar Astin's first movie. He and Phoebe Stroll had just come off of a Broadway play together. And watching the behind the scenes of this movie, everybody that they interviewed, including a lot of the supporting cast, the J.J. Oria and Melanie Diaz, Natalie Emanuela, and even Amy Poehler. Oh, and Marco Rodriguez. Marco Rodriguez actually plays J.J. Oria's father in this movie, and he was in A Man Apart and the original Crow, and he's actually been around for a while. I've seen him in several things.
He was in the original Crow. He was a cop.
Well, one cool thing about Marco Rodriguez, on top of what he's done in the past, is that he was the scrapyard owner in my pick of Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes, he's been around.
Oh yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. He was on Weeds. He's done video game voices for Red Dead Redemption. He was in that movie Due Date, which we just talked about last episode. So he's been around for a while. He's also in $1 Million Baby, which is pretty awesome as well.
Okay.
And I actually liked the scene with him and his wife because there's a moment where Octavia comes to class and tells Dana that he actually can't be in the play anymore. Well, the reason we find out is because the play is so poorly written that his father does not want him associated with this play. I love this moment too, and Dana says to him, well, actually, just listen to this. I really like this.
Yes, our concerns about the play are of a different nature.
If it's the sex and violence, I can totally tone that down.
No, we're fine with those.
Then what is it?
We merely expressed our absolute distaste for a sequel to what is arguably the greatest play in the English language. Not to mention the quality of the writing, which is quite low.
Well, no offense, but what the hockey puck do you know?
Well, I've published 9 novels. I have a PhD in literature. My wife is a painter. She currently has an exhibit at the Guggenheim in Bilbao.
Okay. Then help me fix my play. I'm trying to save drama.
So, kind of going back to some of the tropes and the farces and everything, I think it works out that, a lot of these parents start to have their reservations about this play, but then slowly start to come around to the fact that their kids actually want to be in this, and they want to support their children in being in something that is so outlandish and so crazy and out of control that maybe it could be something that could change the city of Tucson and get drama back on its feet. So that's pretty much Hamlet 2. Vee loathed it. Vee hated it. And that's fine. Again, no big deal.
I'm going to quote my movie. I hate it with the fire of 1,000 burning suns.
Well, Vee, now you can say you've seen it and you never have to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
The film came out on August 7th of 2008. Very, very limited release. It actually made its premiere in January at the Sundance Film Festival, which it actually did very well. It was very well received. The budget for the movie was $9 million. You probably won't be surprised on the domestic box office for this because it was $4.8 million.
Oh, I was going to guess 5. Perfect.
Oh, all right, you're almost there. The worldwide gross was $4.9 million, so it almost made $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Very unfortunately, it did not do very well in the box office. And I've read also that a lot of people thought Steve Coogan was great in this movie, including the cast, and obviously the writer and director were very happy to get Steve Coogan because of his star power, especially in the UK. So that, again, everybody, is Hamlet 2. If you have not seen it, I recommend you giving it a shot. Vee and I have disagreed before. I think Vee has disagreed with me more now on this podcast, and I even said to Vee, there was the chance to veto this movie, but Vee chose not to veto it. So there must have been something that Vee liked about it.
Nope,
Vee's just not saying what it was.
That's not
I
it
think
at
Vee
all.
liked it.
I was trying to be
I think Vee just wanted to be
considerate.
different.
You said you couldn't think of any other high school movies. If you want to put me on blast, I'll put you on blast.
Which is also true. That is true. I could not think of too many because I've already done Booksmart and Superbad. I didn't want to go into 21 Jump Street just yet. Maybe I should have done 21 Jump Street and
could have done She's the Man.
Yeah, that's more,
I
think,
movie.
more on your side. Yeah.
True.
Or if my wife ever wants to co-host again, she can jump in with She's the Man. But it's all good. If you do want to watch this movie, you can rent it on Amazon Prime. It's also on Cinemax for free. I watched my DVD copy. And again, this movie came out in 2008. I've done the year 2008 a handful of times, most recently with one of the greatest films of all time, Tropic Thunder. So I'll just run through a couple of the highest grossings of 2008. Number 1 was The Dark Knight. Number 2 was Iron Man. Number 3, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Number 5 was WALL-E. Number 9 was Quantum of Solace. Number 12 was Mamma Mia. Number 15 was a movie I just watched that V, you told me to watch because I am a big fan of James McAvoy and Morgan Freeman. Not so much Angelina Jolie, but this movie was badass. Wanted, the 18th highest grossing film, Four Christmases, which I introduced you to last Christmas.
Yes, you did.
Number 19, Tropic Thunder. Number 20, Bolt. So those are 3 in a row of the year 2008 that I've done. 28 was The Bucket List. Number 30 was Pineapple Express. Number 37, a sequel that will be on this podcast at some point, Hellboy 2 and the Golden Army. Number 44, a hilarious comedy starring Seann William Scott and Paul Rudd and Christopher Mintz-Plasse and a whole bunch of other people. Role Models.
Yes.
Number 53, Saw 5. Number 58, we just mentioned it, The House Bunny.
Oh, wow. That grossed a lot of money.
Yes, it did. Number 74, There Will Be Blood. Number 77, V, a pick of yours that you introduced me to that just completely devastated me with James McAvoy and Keira Knightley. Atonement.
I'm so glad you loved that film.
Me too. Yeah, I didn't loathe it with the fire of 1,000 suns, that's for sure. The 95th highest grossing film was Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, which I just mentioned recently when we talked about our drag queen movies, and that will also be on my list in the future. And the 187th highest grossing film of the year 2008, my pick this week of Hamlet 2. Scratch the top 200.
The only thing I'm grateful for in this movie is that I didn't have to pay for it.
Well, good. I'm glad you didn't have to pay for it.
I would have hated it more if I did.
Yeah, no, I know, right? That would have been pretty entertaining, though, if you did pay for it. I'm like, you pay for it. But no, I wouldn't know. It's all good. So that's Hamlet 2, everybody. That is episode 124. We loved the first movie, and one half of us loved the second movie. And next week is going to be a complete blast.
Is there going to be a next week?
Well, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we have to sign off and discuss this. Hey, you know what? It'll free up a lot of my evenings, but I do love doing these. I don't know. I guess I'm going to let the ball be in your court on that one, V. You did come to me with this podcast, and I gave you a movie that literally just ended the podcast. Didn't even get to 125 episodes.
You've redeemed yourself with next week's pick, so it's okay.
Oh, good. Wonderful. All of my next picks are going to be fantastic, and especially because the month of October is coming up.
That's right.
And you're going to be watching some new horror movies.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to that.
Me too, especially the first week. But we'll get into that later. For next week, we're doing buddy cop comedies.
Yes, we are.
One of which I introduced you to when you were here last, and the other one, my wife and I watched about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Perfect.
Yeah. And I will likely watch them both again because I enjoyed your pick quite a bit.
Because they're so awesome.
Pretty good, yeah. So why don't you tell everybody what you chose, V?
I chose the 2013 Sandra Bullock, Melissa McCarthy, Paul Feig directed The Heat. And if you want to follow along, you can watch it on Hulu.
Fantastic. That's how I will watch it.
And what awesome buddy cop comedy did you choose?
I chose a movie from 2007, written by Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, directed by Edgar Wright, starring Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Martin Freeman, Bill Nighy, Timothy Dalton, and a whole handful. Oh, and one of my favorite roles of his, Jim Broadbent. Yes. This is Hot Fuzz, everybody. And if you care to follow along, it is currently on Prime. You can rent it. I will watch my DVD copy. And before we sign off, we always like to ask each other this question. V, would you watch 10 Things I Hate About You with your grandma?
I would. I don't think she'd care for it just because it's a teenage rom-com.
Yeah.
My sisters and I have watched it together, but this is a pretty tame movie. Even though there are some high school parties, there's no sex, there's only alcohol use. So I think 14 and above, just because then they'd actually start getting the jokes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And John, would you watch Hamlet 2 with your grandma?
I don't think so. No, I don't think my grandma would have liked it.
Don't subject anyone else to this film.
Well, I can't promise anything. Awesome. Well, that was a fun one, kind of. Thanks for joining us, everybody, here for episode 124 of Movies You Missed podcast. We will see you next week. Please do rate, review, subscribe, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the stuff. I have a great time interacting with all of you when I post some reels, and we have a lot of fun on Twitter also. It's we're having a lot of fun on Twitter these days. And oh, damn it, I don't even want to know what your stuff you think is this week. I can see it in your fucking eyes. You're just like, say it so I can say it. And as always, we do like to close out Movies You Missed podcast with film is a form of art, and in art, all opinions are valid, except if you think Vee is correct about their opinion of Hamlet, too. Good night, everybody. Cheers, everybody. See you next week. Maybe not. Who knows?